but I think I just learned over time how to deal with chaos a little bit and just managing it and looking at what's in front of me, taking it step by step. The other thing I would say is like in the morning, I really just try to focus on, okay, God, help me get through this. Changed over the years. When I became a Christian, I was 32. So you have to remember that. So I spent a good 10 years of my career really chasing the job and money. And I guess one of the things that happened for me is when I became a Christian and I started understanding how money works in God's environment, in God's world, I just started focusing on planting, like doing the best I can, always planting good seeds.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to 2026. My goodness, can you believe it's been more than a quarter century since Y2K? Brad, do you remember Y2K?
I do. I'm old enough.
We actually had a computer. It was a dinosaur, and we actually had a computer that crashed on Y2K.
Yeah.
Folks, one of the things that I am so privileged to do with what the Lord's called me to do is have relationship with amazing people. One of the ministries that I'm involved in is an outreach to government officials. So there's people that apply and get vetted, and that's one of my jobs with that ministry. And I tell so many of the people that apply, man, your qualification, I'd vote for you for president. Man, you'd make a good president. Anyway, and then with the Victory in the Workplace ministry, I get to have conversations with amazing people. One of those amazing people is with me today, Brad Lar. Brad, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
So glad to have you. We've known you for a long time. You go back to, oh my goodness, in those early days when I would do the workplace ministry, I'd get wild and crazy. It was so real on the inside. I don't know if you remember any of the extreme enthusiasm. I'm still as enthusiastic. I'm just a little older and toned it down a little bit. So anyway, we have the opportunity probably for the next two podcasts to interview Brad. So Brad, let's get started. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your family. Let's start with that.
Yeah. So Brad Lar, my wife is Christine, and we have 4 young men. 3 are married now, and I'm from the Minnesota area originally. My wife's from Iowa, and we live here in Rochester, Minnesota. Been working at a major healthcare center here in Rochester for 28 years. My background's engineering. My wife's an architect by training. She works part-time as an architect. And we also have some businesses that we run too, a storage business. I'm a farming background person, so I'm involved in agriculture. I sell micronutrients to farmers, so that gets me out in the marketplace as well.
Now, you mentioned Christine is from Iowa. You've heard all the Iowa, Minnesota jokes.
We bring them up occasionally.
What's the one that's really bad? What's the best thing coming out of 35W going north? Or is it going south?
I forget that one.
But there's some really cutting ones to tell in each other. Okay, so you have 4 boys.
Yeah.
Wow. I have friends that have a household of girls. You had a household of males. Opposite of that.
We have the exact opposite, and our dog was a boy too. So we always call Christine the queen of the house.
What's it like having so many boys?
I didn't know it any different. That was our norm. But now we have 3 daughter-in-laws, so it's all changing here in the last 2 years.
Yeah, now your boys are really spread out in Indiana, St. Paul, or a suburb of St. Paul, Texas, and where's the 4th one?
Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And what are they doing? What type of employment do they have?
They're all varied. One's a chiropractor, one's in sales, one's like a business analyst. The other one works in healthcare technology.
Wow.
All over the place.
You must be very proud of them.
We are. We're blessed.
Are you ready to make all those trips to all 4 of those places to see grandkids in the upcoming year?
We have already.
You have already, huh? Yeah. Okay, Brad, I have so many questions to ask you. Let's dig in here and get started. First of all, when you first said this, it blew my mind. You normally, a typical day, have 8 to 12 meetings per day.
At work.
Okay, so the other day, I had an extremely busy meeting day, and I had 3.
Brad, I love a day like that.
And Brad, by the end of the 3rd one, I won't say my brain was mush, but I was ready not to talk to people, just to be left alone for a while.
Yeah.
How do you manage that and keep your brain from feeling fried?
Yeah, it can be a challenge, but I think I just learned over time how to deal with chaos a little bit and just managing it and looking at what's in front of me, taking it step by step. The other thing I would say is like in the morning, I really just try to focus on, okay, God, help me get through this. Thank you for the wisdom to make good decisions, and just try to keep it all in perspective.
It's not at any given time. You only have 1 meeting at a time. We're just human. So it's just, you're not doing 8 to 12 meetings. You're doing 1 meeting.
Right.
And then that meeting is done. You're doing one more.
Got to transition and kind of reframe. And okay, what am I talking about here? Am I leading this meeting? Am I attending this meeting? What's my role? So,
do meetings tend to be more boring, chaotic, normal?
Not boring.
Not boring.
Not where I work. It's
okay.
And maybe I lead a third of them or half of them. So they're not boring that way because I'm trying to keep it going. So there's an occasional one that can be a little bit boring. But what happens when you're a leader is that you sometimes see things 3 or 4 times. You're at the front end of seeing a decision and then you're cascading it down to other people. And so it's not boring, but it can be repetitive sometimes.
Exactly.
So it's the 3rd time I've heard this or 4th time.
One of the coolest testimonies I've ever heard from one of our Bible school students, Brad, is the girl's name. This was in Belarus. Her name was Valia. And Valia was a university student, and she was sitting in a Russian history class on Tuesday afternoon. And this Russian teacher was as monotone as you possibly could be. And it's after lunch and she's sleeping. And she could care. She's 19 years old. She could care less about Russian history. And she's sitting in this class, Brad. And I think this has such implication for the rest of us when we tend to get distracted or bored. She was like, oh God, I got to sit in this class for another 45 minutes. I am not going to be able to stay awake. And then she remembered what we'd been talking about, the value of everything, whatever you do, pour your heart into it to the glory of God. And the way she says it, Brad, it's like on the inside, she woke up and she started to take notes, started to be engaged. And here's the cool part about her story, Brad. She said the next 45 minutes went by just like that. And all of a sudden the bell rang. She goes, oh, are we done already?
Amazing.
This is so boring. This is so repetitive. This is so monotonous. I have nothing inside of me invested in this other than to get the paycheck. If they would only, if they're Christians, if they would only tap into the resurrection ability of Jesus, and he'll make those 8 hours. One of my favorite stories in the Bible is Jacob. He worked for 7 years for a liar and a cheat named Laban. And the Bible says that he loved Rachel so much that those 7 years seemed like a few days. And that's got application to you and I. As we go to work, it may be a 40-hour work week, but you love Jesus, you're engaged in what you're doing, and that 40-hour work week just flies by.
Yeah, I agree. It does.
It does. Okay. Yeah. So I'm supposed to be interviewing you and I'm doing all the talking. Let's get on to the next question. The next question I want to ask you is this. There's a temptation in the workplace for it to be all about the money.
Yeah.
Be you Christian or be you the chief of sinners, there's a temptation to have it be all about the money. And of course, working for a corporation, largely it is about the money. If they're not making money, nobody's working. I wouldn't be surprised if people even around the world have come to learn it. It's this statement, I owe so off to work.
Okay.
I don't know when I learned that, but I learned that. It's almost like part of our DNA. So, okay, contrast that to what Jesus said, Brad. No man you can either serve God or you can serve mammon. And mammon, we basically interpret mammon to be money. It actually was, I think, an Assyrian god of material things or whatever. For our purpose, we'll consider it to be money. Okay, so talk to me. How do you as a Christian deal with the temptation, plus the necessity in some ways to have it be all about the money?
I think I've changed over the years. When I became a Christian, I was 32. So you have to remember that. So I spent a good 10 years of my career really chasing the job and money. And I guess one of the things that happened for me is when I became a Christian and I started understanding how money works in God's environment, in God's world, I just started focusing on planting, like doing the best I can, always planting good seeds, always doing the best I could at what I was doing. And I just started to transition over time. Like God's going to take care of us. We just need to do our part. And that is show up, do what we're asked to do, work hard. And we've been completely blessed in our businesses and our jobs. I think just with that mind shift for us.
Making money serve you instead of you serving money.
Yeah.
What's that saying, Brad? Money makes a wonderful servant, but a terrible master.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, tell me a little bit about the egg business. I didn't realize that's almost like a side thing.
It is. I grew up on a farm, and so I've been around agriculture. Time ago, I got acquainted with a person who was really involved in agriculture, and I was looking for other ways to make money. I had 4 boys and sent them to private school. And so I got involved in that, and it's been a side business I've had for many years. I've probably got 50 or 60 really good relationships outside of developed. I've actually switched now. I don't care so much about the money. We do make money. Some of these people I've met, and I'll sit in their shop for 3 hours, pour out their life to me. When I just listen and send them Christmas cards, tell them we love them. And I don't know, it's totally taken a dynamic that I didn't expect, but it's been wonderful.
Folks, I hope you tapped into that, because work gives us the opportunity to do the two main commands that Jesus talks about, that the Bible talks about. The first one is to love God by pouring our heart in, being excellent, being the best we can be. Daniel was 10 times wiser than all his other associates at Babylonia University. 10 times wiser. So we do the best we can. We do it with an attitude of gratefulness to the Lord. But then the second part of that commandment is to love people. Most of those people aren't coming to our church.
Right.
You don't see them in church. You see them that 40 plus hours a week in the marketplace. And your story, Brad, there reminds me of a friend of mine who was in the egg business. He became one of the top salesmen in his company. And a typical visit with a farmer for him would be, he'd go and see this farmer. Of course, farmers are unique people, as they're alone most of the time. Yeah. My friend Al said he would go, let's say he was going to be with them for a half hour, first 25 minutes, just conversation. Farmers talking about the weather, farm prices, about everything under the sun. In the last 5 minutes, oh, by the way, Joe, you need any product?
Yeah.
And that's how he became a top, because he invested in the person more than he invested in trying to make money.
Yeah. I have a good story about that. I have a partner now. His name is John. And one thing it's probably been 15 years now, but when I first started working with John, he was all about the sale. So over time, and I've been coached on this, but I've seen John over the years turn the table, like where he cares about people more than he does about making the sale. And honestly, that's one of the most rewarding things I've gotten out of this, is just helping people become better in that way and be more Christian-like.
Brad, I don't care. Tell me your thought on this. Someone can be the worst of sinners, never prayed a prayer in their lifetime, other than God help, but they can tell if we're sincere. They can tell if it's coming from here versus it's all about the balance sheet, or it's just something that we do to manipulate them.
Oh, yeah, you reap what you sow. So you just got to sow good. And I've learned over time that not every year is going to be a good year. And, if you're a grower that buys from me and this year you're not able to because of conditions, why don't we just keep that relationship and we come back next year?
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. Maybe it's a better fit next year. We've seen that happen over time. So just being patient.
You know what the Lord impressed on my heart one time, a while back? He probably tried to tell me earlier in life, but I wasn't listening. Belkstrom, you don't ever have to worry about the money again. Mm-hmm. And I'm still tempted, but isn't that true? The Bible says take no thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And we make sure we're good tithers and we take care of tithing and offering, and God blesses us, takes care of things for us.
It gets back to, we don't serve the money. We make the money serve us.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. Now, next question here. A friend of mine who his job at the time was city engineer, and he made this statement that I found to be very profound, Brad. He said to his employees in city government and city maintenance and all that, he said, I don't need you to work for me. I need you to work with me. I don't need you to work for me. Now, discuss how being a Christian helps you to sleep better at night, because there's a lot of people, workplace issues and problems that keeps them awake at night. How does being a Christian help you sleep better at night with all your responsibility?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just know that when you know the truth, you know that things are going to work out. And so we always got the Bible to go back to, read in there that things are going to be okay, no matter what pressures there are at work. And that's just for me, just having that grounding, because what I see at work is not everybody has that. Been lost, and depending on this one year and over here another year or week. I don't know. I just think that grounding gives us, me and Christina, just the peace that we need to just take on the day.
Yep.
So, yeah. On the way to work, we have this tradition or habit. We develop some good habits. Yeah, but like on the way to work, if we're driving, we read Proverbs on the way in. We have a marriage statement we make every morning, my wife and I. So we're just trying to build ourselves up going into work so that whatever comes at us, we can handle, and knowing that God will help us with that.
Right. I read this one time, Brad, this one particular Christian, whatever job they had, they worked in the marketplace, and it was said of them, every day the dad came home, he said to his kids, he started when they were really young, kids, you'll never believe what happened at work today.
Oh, really?
And he said it in a positive way, because the opposite of that is how many parents train their children by example to look at work. Oh, Man, work today, it was just a zoo. It was terrible. And all the complaining, all the negativity. But this dad came home every day. Kids, you'll never believe what happened at work today. Yeah. Your boys are all doing very well. You must have planted some of that type of thinking in them. Does anything come to mind?
Yeah. We always had dinner together. We always had conversations around the table. Christine and I tried to keep it positive. Always keep it positive. I guess in terms of marketplace or work, I would just if I could think of, or Christine, a good example, like to teach her kids. Okay. What's happened at work today? And here's what we learned. Here's how maybe I could have said, I'm okay talking about things I did wrong too. Like, hey, I made a mistake here. Here, if I could handle that differently. But now I learned. So I don't know. Those are some things I can think of.
Wow. What a lesson for all of us. Sit down at the dinner table. First of all, do you realize how few families eat dinner together anymore?
I bet it's low.
It's very low. So sit down and actually, hey, kids, I had this thing happen at work today and I messed up and I do it different next time. That will teach your children more than anything else.
We all make mistakes. You can't imagine. I just talk through what I learned from it. I'll give Christine credit. Christine was very strong about us having dinner together. And I was in favor of it too, but she really held the lunch. Was great. I appreciate that about her.
Awesome. Hey, Brad, this is so interesting today. Friends, I just want to remind you a couple of announcements right now that if you would be so kind as go to Victory in the Workplace on YouTube, go to Victory in the Workplace podcast, and there's a little subscribe tab there. Just click on that and we will notify you when we do our new podcast. We got about 85 videos on there right now. And we do a couple every 2 weeks, we do a new one. And we'll just keep you up to date on all that. So please do that and also invite some friends to join you. And also, Victory in the Workplace, our passion is to help your work experience be different, help the Lord to transform your work experience. And we do that by doing marketplace ministry training and commissioning. So if you'd like to know more about that, just get in touch with us. And if you're a pastor, we'll talk directly to you. If you want to introduce your pastor to us, that would be great. Just a few hours of training, and then your people will go to work with the same mindset a pastor goes to his church on Sunday morning. Believers in the marketplace, as I've read again and again, are probably the greatest untapped resource that churches have. I used to pastor just the last year, so I've stopped pastoring. We would spend over the years, we'd have this program, this idea, and this update of the building and all that. We thousands of dollars cumulative when you add all this together. What did any of that do to add to our church? Little or nothing. But I remember my wife one time, she was a temp at different city offices and stuff once our youngest got old enough. And she would go from office to office and fill in. And one time she invited 3 different families from the office she was temping to come to church, and all 3 of them came. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, here's one believer in the workplace who did more numerically to affect our local church than all the projects and the thousands of dollars we spent. Hey, folks, we are going to interview Brad again next broadcast. Please join us again next time. Brad, we're going to continue talking about how to bridge that gap from the marketplace to Christianity and not have a divided lifestyle. I think so many believers, they have one life in church on Sunday and God feels so close and hallelujah, we love you, Jesus. But you go to work on Monday morning. It's a zoo. One of the things we're going to talk about is gray areas, because most things in church are pretty black and white. You get to work on Monday morning, there can be a lot of gray. And we're going to talk about those things next time. Hey, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Bye-bye.